I think Michael Nordland's talk is going to be a good segue into my talk. He basically shared with you the frustrations we have with high myopes who are deep anterior chambers, and as well as vitrectomized eyes when we do DMEC. And my feeling is, as long as we're using chamber shallowing and corneal tapping techniques to unscroll the graft, these challenges will remain. When Donald Tan came to Philadelphia for the Fuchs 6 meeting, his keynote lecture was on what he called the democratization of DMEC, how you can make the procedure applicable in all instances. And he described his version of a pull-through technique, the one that Massimo Bussin from Italy first described. So I'm going to share with you one of my frustrations, and that's dealing with the vitreous during DMEC. When I first showed this, and some of you have seen this before, many people in an audience of DMEC surgeons said they'd never seen it before, but I'll share with you my experience. So this is a patient who's having a pseudophakic with an open posterior capsule, having, in my mind, a routine DMEC procedure. The graft goes in, tapping, and the only thing you'll notice here is that the S stamp is upside down. You may say, okay, thank God for the S stamp, no problem. We'll have to deal with that. So all of you have your own way of flipping the graft. There are some ways that work better than others, depending on where in your career of doing this you are. So I flip the graft and I unscroll it, and so far routine, except now the chamber is shallowing, the graft is in a taco configuration, and the eye is getting firmer. Okay, so we have a taco configuration, a graft with a shallow chamber and a firm eye. So what do you think is going on? Do we have a suprachoroidal effusion or hemorrhage, aqueous misdirection, an unhappy patient who's making your life difficult, or an unhappy surgeon? You can have more than one answer, yeah. Mary Lee says, all the above, doc. All right, so, I was suspecting an aqueous misdirection too. I was definitely unhappy. This is when you ask the anesthesiologist to put an inch of nitroglycerin on your chest as a surgeon. But obviously you cannot rule out a suprachoroidal hemorrhage. So the question is how to break this aqueous misdirection. All right, so the DMEC graft is in a taco configuration. The chamber is flat. The eye is firm. You're suspecting an aqueous misdirection, but you don't know that for sure. So do you end the case and go home, come back on another day? Do you deepen the chamber with viscoelastic device? Do you order an intraoperative ultrasound if you have access to one? Or do you perform a limited vitrectomy to break the aqueous misdirection phenomena? So the question is, if you are going to do a limited vitrectomy, I think it's nice, first of all, to make sure you do not have a suprachoroidal hemorrhage. So it's nice if you have access to an intraoperative ultrasound, which we do at Wills Eye Hospital, and we did the ultrasound and it was negative. So I was thinking of doing a vitrectomy, and the question is, do you try to go anteriorly or do you go through the pars plana? So the ultrasound revealed no suprachoroidal effusion or hemorrhage. The chamber was still flat, the eye was still firm. So now, again, do you end the case and come back on another day? Do you perform the vitrectomy through the pars plana? Do you insert the vitrectomy cutter anteriorly through the peripheral iridectomy to remove some vitreous and break the misdirection phenomenon? Or do you use an even heavier viscoelastic to deepen the anterior chamber? You know, I have to tell you that the head of our hospital, Julia Haller, our ophthalmologist in chief, has been very encouraging of us anterior segment surgeons who believe there's a role to enter the eye through the pars plana to solve anterior segment problems. For the first 25 years that I was at Wills Eye Hospital, it was an absolute no-no. The retina vitreous boys, and now they have one woman on their faculty, would not allow that to happen. But yes, here I thought maybe a pars plana tap would be the appropriate thing to do now that I knew that there was no suprachoroidal hemorrhage. So I put a trocar in, 3.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus, and I did a limited, can we both go back one slide, please? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and play that? I think there's a pause at the beginning. Yep, okay, I'll do it here. Here we go. Trocar 3.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus, 25 gauge cutter. My non-dominant finger is feeling the eye. Once the eye got soft, I felt I was good to go. I plugged the trocar, unscroll the graft. The S mark is in a correct orientation. I thought I'm done. I'm happy. Time to go home. But I had just vitrectomized the eye by removing just 0.2 milliliters of fluid. So now I still had a graft that was not completely unscrolled, and I just could not find a way to unscroll it. So I thought, okay, I have a trocar already in, and I'm going to inject some fluid posteriorly just to be able to shallow the chamber enough to complete the case. I know some of these maneuvers are a little bit controversial, and that's why I bring it to you today. And I'm receptive of any comments, constructive or otherwise, criticism, but this is how I brought this case to a successful conclusion. So management of aqueous misdirection during DMEC may include, first of all, making sure you do not have a suprachoroidal phenomenon, and then somehow to break the aqueous misdirection phenomenon, allowing you to complete this case. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank SICSO, to thank Enzo, and to thank you all for supporting this meeting, because without you, this is not possible. Thank you very much.